This is Scott Kaplan and Crew Tonight. The very best from today's Scott Kaplan and Crew show on the mightier 1090 AM ESPN Radio. SoCal Sports Talk. Here's Scott Kaplan, Alex Padilla, and John Browner.
Welcome back, everybody. Kaplan and Crew, Alex Padilla, John Browner, Jason Lawhead with you guys on a Wednesday. The last Wednesday of August. I can't believe that we're already heading into September, but here we are. To me, I understand that summer is almost over. Kids are back in school. I don't have kids, but I know that kids are going back to school, and that signifies the end of summer. To me, summer is really getting started because the weather in September and October is hot as hell in San Diego. Like every single Labor Day weekend is hot as hell. We're getting excessive heat warnings. It is hot, boys.
Yeah.
It is hot. The AC has been blasting all day. The AC blasted overnight. I don't care about the electric bill. I am using my AC because I work from home and I'm a West Coast elite, Browner. It's hot.
Look at you. Look at you. Look at you. Look at you. How far you come. No, Mr. Can't turn the AC off now.
Well, it's off right now. I'm giving it a little break, let it catch its breath, before I blast it in the afternoon and in the evening.
How hot?
It makes no sense.
How hot was it there last night?
I don't know. I had the AC on. No, actually.
When you took the dog out.
I can't tell you.
Oh.
I didn't take the dog out till like 5 or 6.
Okay.
Because it was so hot. And she's got this thick coat of fur. So she don't last in the heat. She just doesn't. She's like pulls me back home. She's like, let's go. So I took her out like 5, 6 o'clock real quick. And then I took her out at night. And that's when we went for a little walk like at 9. But I'll tell you on Monday, I didn't have the AC on. And because the way my place faces, the sun hits it from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. It arches in front of my place.
That's the view,
which is great.
You pay for.
Which is great until right now. I get a view of North Park. I get a view of like everything. But, in these next probably 5 to 6 weeks, it's going to be AC time nonstop. But I'll tell you, it's tolerable now. But when that sun comes like 5, 6 o'clock, it gets so stuffy in here. It was like 85 degrees in here. And I was like, I can't, man. I got to turn the AC on.
Yeah, that's a different kind of 85, man. People be sending me pictures and talking about, it's 110 here. It's something in Texas. It's this in Arizona. Yeah, that's a different kind of heat. Ain't no humidity involved in that heat.
Yeah.
That's just dry heat. You can survive that at about 110. Here, it gets to 85.
Humid.
You might die.
It's humid. It's sticky. It's gross.
It be on you.
It's wet.
It's on you.
It is wet. But yeah, boys, for me, Labor Day always signifies like the summer's here, man. I know that doesn't make sense as far as like seasons go, but Labor Day, I always feel like Labor Day in San Diego, we always have it like once a year, like a whole week of like 100-degree weather. Like that random week that we get once a year. Like that, I feel like that's always around Labor Day.
It's always cold as hell during Memorial Day. And it's always, the peak of summer at Labor Day here. I've noticed
we're delayed.
Since I've lived here.
We're definitely delayed. May gray, June gloom. Those are real things. July, it starts to pick up. August, it gets hot. September, it's hot as hell. October, it's still residual.
But I love October because by October, the sun's going down earlier and earlier and earlier. So you get those nice summery warm days, but the evenings get cool quick. Because all of a sudden it's approaching that time where it's about to get the clock turned back and it's going to get dark really early. So I love October in San Diego, my favorite month.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because we really can't complain too much, but I'm not complaining. I'm just saying. Just saying. Like Uncle Juice says, just saying. Just saying. Saying it's hot.
Yeah.
All right, boys. Last night, obviously, the Padres playing right now, wrapping up their series in San Francisco. Which, hey, they won. They won the series, regardless of what happens today. They won. And yesterday, coming into today, I know the Brewers played today. I know the Phillies play later. Coming into today, the Padres had a great night last night because they took a game against the Phillies and they gained a game against the Brewers because both those teams lost. Padres won last night. So at the moment, the Phillies got a half-game lead over the Padres. This is coming into today. Padres are 72-59. They've played one extra game over the Phillies. The Brewers are now 68-60, and they are 2.5 games behind the Padres. What I find very interesting is we've talked about strength of schedule for the Padres. We've talked about They got the second strongest schedule in baseball remaining. They got to play the Padres, the Dodgers. They got to play the Cardinals. They got to play this and this and this. On the weak side, we have the Diamondbacks. And we play them 7 times.
Mm-hmm.
The Diamondbacks are a winning team in the second half of the season. The Diamondbacks are now above the Giants in the NL West standing. They are sneaky playing their best baseball of the season, which is like, what the hell, man? I thought these were, I mean, I'm not telling you that you're not going to win those games, but this is literally a team that's beating the Phillies right now. They've beat them the last 2 nights. That we got to go play that team 7 times as well. And I was like, man, come on now. They're 20-15 in the second half of the season.
Look, man, all I got to tell you is this. We're going forward.
Yes, we are.
We're going forward. And I'm glad the Diamondbacks have found themselves against a team that we would have liked for them to find themselves against.
Yeah,
I agree.
We talked a lot about strength of schedule. Oh, they got the Diamondbacks. Oh, they got I think the Pirates. Diamondbacks win. Pirates win. So these teams aren't great. We've seen the Padres as a great team that is underperforming. Mm-hmm. These other 2 teams, they're not good. And so the fact that there was so much consternation over whether or not Phillies ran away with it was like, oh, look at their strength of schedule. Look at the Brewers' strength of schedule. Yeah, but they're bad too. So the fact that we've underperformed always gave me a confidence of,
so that means the Padres are bad when you say that they're bad too?
No. I'm saying the Padres underperformed. I think the Brewers are bad. I think the Phillies are bad. I think the Padres have better roster from top to bottom. They have better pitching top to bottom. They've just underperformed. And so also, not to mention, you one of your better players, you played without him the entire year. And so in addition to underperforming, you didn't have one of your best guys. And so I think that it is just taking them ups and downs. And so here we go.
Yeah, I feel you. I love your positivity. I'm going to embrace your positivity. I'm going to just bask in your positivity, but I live in a reality. And I think that, yes, the Phillies and Brewers are not exceptional teams. They are not the Dodgers. They are not the Mets. But they are very similar to what the Padres are. They are inconsistent teams.
Yes.
Who I think the Phillies underperformed in the beginning of the season. They've definitely ridden their ship. I think that they've kind of, but they didn't have Bryce Harper because Blake Snell broke his hand. So the Phillies are now.
What the Phillies have done is impressive. That AL East came out of nowhere. It's a strong division this year, obviously, with the Braves winning the World Series out of it last year and the Mets getting their crap together finally. And even going beyond, you want to talk about a team that's probably overperforming, maybe it's the Mets to a degree. And Phillies hung in there, and that's obviously could be the 2 playoff spots very easily out of that division. So I agree. The Padres have underperformed a little bit, but this is their time to shine.
I think a lot of it. I mean, but let's, compared to last year, I did see this, and obviously no expanded playoffs last year, but I saw a tweet. At this point of the season last year, the Padres had like a 20% chance of making the playoffs, whereas of right now they have a 78% chance of making the playoffs. So obviously expanded playoffs helps you because if there wasn't, I don't think we're catching the Braves. And we're battling against the Phillies. So, we'll see what happens going forward. Obviously, there's still so much baseball to go. But last night being a good night, also Nick Martinez gets out there for a close again. I'm like, and I'm over here. I'm ready to send this tweet out, bro. I'm like, I told you, mofos. I told you this dude's got the mentality. He's got the brass balls to go out there and be your closer. And then he gives up a 2-run dinger to Jock. And I'm like, okay, now I got to question Nick too. Like, I know he got the save, but it would be nice to have someone to go out there and just shuts teams down. Nick does give up hits. Like, that's what he does. There was also terrible defense happening. So bad calls.
The defense of the last 2 games have been rough. The last 2 series have been rough. It wasn't great in Kansas City either.
So Nick Martinez, now I'm not questioning him. I think that I like him in that role, but Jock Peterson kills the freaking Padres.
Right, and I wouldn't read too much into that because closers that's a weird mentality. They get those 3-run, they get the ball with a 3-run lead. They get the ball, they got the quick 2 out. Like they put guys on a lot of times. A 1-run lead and a clean 9th to get the ball is really what they get amped up for, and especially when you get the first 2 outs like that, and then a little hit. Boom. And then but he goes out and gets the out right away. That's the big thing. He doesn't walk a guy after that. And all of a sudden, you're sitting here pacing and there's nothing else you can do because your closer's on the hill falling apart. So give him credit. Actually, I think you give him credit in a save like that where you go, hey, I made a bad pitch. I thought I was going to get out of this in a breeze and I threw one to a great hitter.
You know what I like about him the most between Rogers, Hader, Garcia, whoever else we've thrown out to try and be a closer this year, I already forgot, is he just seems like he thrives in that role. Like mentally, he's out there, he enjoys it. He's always been an animated pitcher on the mound, even when he was starting. He celebrates things. Like he has that closer look, for lack of a better word. Like I agree. You know what I mean? Like he has this intensity about him that I think suits the closer mentality. And then I saw this quote this morning in the UT. It was just like hilarious. This is Nick Martinez to the UT saying, quote, "I don't really label it, but I definitely think of myself as a dog when I'm out there. So whatever the situation is, I want to compete." And it's funny, obviously I got that dog mentality, but it's true. Like he when you watch him pitch, he's got that intensity to him that has always been prototypical of a closer, especially, in San Diego.
Him giving up the home runs didn't bother me. What bothered me is the fact that the defense has been shaky. As long as you save the game, that's all that matters to me. Because Hader hasn't been able to do that. And before we ran the other guy out of town, Rogers, he had lost the ability to do that. So
I was going to say, he did lead the league
at one point in time.
For a while, yeah.
So once you take the mound, when you leave it with a win. The rest I can look past. You're going to give up some runs. That's just the nature of the game. But do you give up the run you're not supposed to?
It's the defense from the pitching position, too, has been bad. Like, it was Garcia yesterday that had that stupid – like, what is it with pitchers throwing the ball to not home plate that they just can't do?
I don't know, man.
It's like –
I don't know, man. They should have the most precise arm on the team, but it's
like, dude, you can hit a fly from 90 feet away, but you can't throw it to second base.
Once they get off the mound, it gets weird.
Because it's not on their time. It's not on their time. They've shortened up what they're used to throwing, which is 60 feet, 6 inches, whether it's to home or back to second on a quick, stumbling off the mound. And, that's what made Greg Maddux so great. I think Greg Maddux won as many Gold Gloves as any player ever. And he just was so good on the mound and around it and with his hands. And if he had to rush up and get 7-10 feet off the mound, he'd throw a dart to the catcher, even if it was for a tag. So, and those are the big things in October, right? Like Machado can be, who he is. Soto can, come up and be October Soto, but it's all those things. It's when a team lays down a bunt. It's when a little comebacker with a guy on and on the corners. And can you do that? Can you do that? Or do you,
Right. And it's not like, it's not like San Francisco fans are making it feel like a big, intense playoff game. Yeah. There's nobody there. It's like there's more seagulls than fans.
That's funny.
At the end of the night, and you're making the mistakes when the lights are on you. Those are not the kind of plays that can be made in the playoffs. That'll cost you a game. Hands down.
Against good teams, you can't give them extra outs. Right. And that's the problem.
That's a good way of saying.
That's the problem that you try to avoid with these errors, man. That's beating yourself. Like as hard as it is for guys to hit in baseball. What you don't want to do is give them extra opportunities to do something that's difficult because they're good enough to get there. Like a great example is Trent Grisham. He has been gross at times. Last night, there you go. All you need is 1 or 2 of those. And now
I would say like his 5 home runs, Browner, they all seem kind of big.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a lot of them, but they've all seemed pretty big.
They're very timely. And so as much as I'm calling
pinch hitter Grisham
for someone else in center field, when he does get out there, if you give me that, okay.
It's like Kurt Bavacqua. It's like Kurt Bavacqua-esque, It's like every home run he hit was always just like, man, it was a big home.
Shout out, Kurt.
Yeah.
Shout out. It's like
we have to return our equipment.
It's like trying to be a little bit more modern. You watch these playoff games, and who's killed the Padres more than like Chris Taylor? Like he's not their best player.
Yeah.
But he's so timely. He's so clutch. He's so clutch. And, if the Padres are going to need guys to be clutch, Padres are going to need guys to come in a pinch hit situation and produce. Is that Trent Grisham? I don't know. But has he produced some timely hits this year? 100%. I've trashed the guy all year. His defense has gone downhill. He's hitting below 200, and it's September. And I'm not giving him any credit,
right?
But at the same time, he has produced some very timely hits and home runs.
So I don't expect for him to continue that. But what I spoke about before, guys at the bottom need to start giving us something. You doesn't have to be the same guy every time, but we need at least 2 or 3 of those guys down there to provide some type of offense to keep flipping that lineup as quick as you can and getting more opportunities for the top of the order. And that's really how we want that chain to move, because our big guys produce, whether it be walks from Soto, whether it be singles or doubles from Machado, home runs from Bell, home runs, timely hits from Drury, Cronenworth every now and then. They seem to come up big time when it's time to come up. The other guys are what we need. And last night, one of those other guys hit a home run.
Like Will Ferrell, Mark Wahlberg movie, the other guys, So obviously they're wrapping up against San Francisco, Musgrove on the mound today. And then they got a day off tomorrow, which I think they need to regroup, get ready, because then they travel down to Los Angeles for a huge 3-game series against the Dodgers. You got Yu Darvish. I think it's scheduled this way. I don't see any changes here. Yu Darvish, Sean Manaea, big fat L there, and then Mike Clevenger on Sunday.
That Sean Manaea game gonna be ugly.
Hopefully Manaea's not listening, boy. You're really help boosting his confidence.
Here's the thing. Kershaw's back for the Dodgers, but he pitches tomorrow.
Right.
So you're avoiding Kershaw.
Yeah.
You're avoiding Anderson. There is no Gonsolin. There is no Buehler. So you're facing Dustin May, who's coming back from Tommy John. You're facing Julio Urias and Haney. So
no doubt, this is a prime picking for a 2 out of 3, and maybe Manaea spins you one that comes out of nowhere.
And as much as I would like the Padres to go out there and sweep every single series against teams that they should, 2 or 3, 2 or 3, 2 or 3, 2 or 3, you're in the playoffs.
That's the formula. That's the formula.
But I think they've been 1 and 2 every time against the Dodgers this year, so it's time to drop.
They play the Dodgers 9 times. You can drop 6 of those 9 games and win. If you win your series on the way out, you can. Yes, you
win
can.
Every other series.
Yes.
You got to really win these series though. You've got to mix some sweeps in there if you're going to lose 6. I think you can. I think
all against the White Sox.
5 and 4 is, or 4 and 5 at worst. But they've 5 and 4 is what they've got to.
They got to win one of the series. They have to win one of the 2 series.
Got to shoot for 5 and 4, or no worse than 4 and 5.
I mean, I don't think anyone's going 5 and 4 against the Dodgers in 9 games right now. I genuinely don't.
And so I'm being realistic about that.
Getting 3 against them should be the bare minimum.
But we're not talking about, we're looking at a Padre lineup now, a Padre team now that's different from the Padre team that took it on the chin to a lot of those games earlier in the year, and with the way they've shaped together. And their responsibility right now is to go out, like we said a couple days ago, and win all these games, put these markers down. And so a team with a 20-game lead, that's intimidating. But this is when you could catch them off guard, right? This is when you should be playing at a higher level for more chips on the table right now.
Yeah. And I mean, I would love to tell you that the games have been competitive, but a lot of them haven't been. But it was a different team. But now there's no more, like we said, there's no more excuses. You don't have the kid. He ain't there. Everybody else is. So wrap it up today against San Francisco. Take your day off, and then let's go. Big time, big 3 games in Los Angeles, then 3 against Arizona, then 3 against LA again. So,
and just so y'all know, I just want this to, because I don't think people know about this. This Sunday at 4:00, Mighty or 1090, your home of the Padres.
Yeah.
So take that for what it's worth. Okay, on Sunday, y'all gonna be able to hear your San Diego Padres on your station when you can actually hear it. No shots fired, just facts.
Sunday you're going to catch the game 4:00 on AM 1090, the mightier ESPN 1090, because Sunday Night Baseball.
That's right.
We get to carry that game. All right. There is some quick news coming out of the world of Fernando Tatis. It is not great news, but it's not terrible news. Do you know about this, Browner?
I thought he had went away, man. I thought he had went away.
Well, remember, he said as soon as possible, I'm going to have the shoulder surgery. That was scheduled to happen yesterday. That did not happen yesterday because my man's got strep throat. So it's been postponed for a week.
It's always something.
Strep throat.
It's always something.
Oh, we not believe in the strep throat now.
I mean, I don't not believe it, but it's just like,
Oh, it definitely sounded like you're not believing it.
well, I'm just it's like this is like it's ringworm, it's strep throat, it's scooter rides, it's you said something earlier when we were talking about Peterson kills has anybody killed the Padres worse than this guy? And I was like, Tatis. It's just it seems to always
that
just
call is coming from within the house.
Just the strep throat. So,
well, he has strep throat, no surgery scheduled for next week once he gets recovered. That is according to the Padres. So
he needs to just not be even a distraction until next year when he's eligible to play baseball.
There is some more Padres news that I would like to talk about, because how does the Padres and F1 combine?
Oh, my God.
Oh, Browner, you're going to love it when we talk about it. When we come back, though, my boss from silverscreenandroll.com, Anthony Irwin, will join us to let these two knuckleheads go off finally and talk some basketball. Laker stuff more in the news and whatever else the hell they want to talk about. Anthony Irwin will join us next. And then we will get into how the Padres and F1's worlds have collided, because, Browner, it is happening. When we come back, this is Kaplan and Crew, brought to you by the 7 Mile Casino, 7milecasino.com. Check it out. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back with more of Scott Kaplan and Crew tonight. The very best from today's Scott Kaplan and Crew show on the mightier 1090 AM ESPN Radio. SoCal Sports Talk.
You're watching Kaplan and Crew tonight, powered by the mightier 1090 AM ESPN Radio and Your View, featuring the best sports talk in SoCal.
Dominating the SoCal radio airwaves for over 20 years. Join Scott Kaplan, Alex Padilla, and John Browner for Kaplan and Crew every Monday through Friday, 3 to 6 p.m. only on the mightier 1090 ESPN Radio, SoCal Sports Talk, and the mightier1090.com.
Let's welcome back to Main Street Living tax attorney Adam Brewer. Adam, thanks so much for joining us again.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
Now, it might seem weird that we're having you on because it's not necessarily tax season right now, but what are some things that viewers can do to get ahead of next tax season?
Yeah, you're right. I apologize. I think most people would prefer to just forget about taxes for the summer. But yeah, if you have some downtime, always a good opportunity to kind of get ahead for next season. So really what I'm preaching is, just become more knowledgeable about your taxes. Everyone come tax season can benefit from having a little more knowledge and just being a little bit less stressed about the whole process of getting their taxes filed and getting them paid. All this information is available online, but it's really a mess. So it just gets back to my first point, just start with your own taxes. And then if you need to dig in on one or two issues, it's just a Google search away.
Gotcha. Google search away. Now, let's just say someone is interested, like Danielle is interested in becoming more knowledgeable about her taxes. Like, how should someone like her get started?
Yeah. So Danielle, you're interested. You should start with, your last year's tax return. So I'd say get out your last year's return. Form 1040s, going to be the first page there. And really look and see what lines are populated. And then, make sure you understand those roles. So if you have dividend income and you see, what's a qualified dividend, go in and figure it out. Likewise, if you see anything that's missing. So, a lot of taxpayers now are paying a ton in student loan interest. And then they look at their tax return and they go like, whoa, that's limited to $2,500. That would be a role that you'd want to dig in and really figure out how it impacts your actual tax return. When in doubt, save for retirement. It's either, for most taxpayers, it's either going to save you money today, tax-wise, or it's going to help you reduce your tax burden in the future.
Awesome.
So important. Thank you. Thank you so much, Adam. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
Main Street streets are the heart of our communities, where we connect with our neighbors, support local businesses, and share new adventures. Main Street Living celebrates all of this, bringing you uplifting stories with guests from across the country and your community. Main Street Living covers what's important to you today, from our street to your street. Join Cheryl, Danielle, and Quincy for Main Street Living. Mondays at 9 on Your View.
Welcome back. This is Scott Kaplan and Crew Tonight. The very best from today's Scott Kaplan and Crew show on the mightier 1090 AM ESPN Radio. SoCal Sports Talk. Here's Scott Kaplan, John Browner, and Alex Padilla.
Welcome back, everybody, to Kaplan and Crew with just the crew. Alex Padilla, John Browner, Jason Lawhead in with you guys this week. Scott will be back next week when we come back from the extended holiday break. We've been talking Padres, and we've been talking Padres because it is a wild card season. And these two guys over here, Jason and Browner, they've been just clawing at the bit to talk some basketball all week. I've been holding them back because I remember last night we were finishing the show yesterday, and at the end of the show's over, is the post-show YouTube part, and you guys are just like blah blah blah, like going after it, ready to talk basketball. So I thought, hey, let's talk basketball. And I think here in Southern California, obviously it's been the story all season, and it's Russell Westbrook. I mean, that's the story in Southern California. What are they going to do with Russell Westbrook? And what I mean by they is the Lakers. Joining us now, audio producer for SB Nation and my boss at silverscreenandroll.com, whether he wants me to call him that or not. He tells me what to do if he wants. This is Anthony Irwin joining us. Anthony, what's up, man? How are you?
I couldn't tell you what to do if I tried.
Yeah, no, you
couldn't. I wouldn't even know what. I don't know what I would say. Like, hey, you and Alex, be more reasonable. Like that's not.
I don't know. Do better. Browner always likes to tell me do better. Do better. Browner always tells me do better.
It's my tagline. Yeah. Do better.
Yeah. Do better. And we always tell him, like, don't be that guy. Like, we always tell him, don't be that guy. Don't be the guy that tells people do better. But anyways, Anthony, what's up, man? I mean, obviously, it was like a breath of fresh freaking air last week that we got to talk about an actual move instead of a rumor. We've been talking about rumors for about 3, 4, 5, 6 months, it feels like by now, when it comes to Russell Westbrook. But hey, Lakers made a move. They got Patrick Beverley. Everybody assumed, well, that's the end of Russell Westbrook. There's no way those two are going to be on the same team. And yet here we are a week and change later. And now everyone loves each other and everyone's ready to be teammates. What's going on with the Lakers and Russell and Pat and everything?
Yeah, I think it's one of those instances where you could try to say the right thing. You can try to frame the situation as best you want, but at the end of the day, actions speak louder than words. And it was funny. Jeannie Buss is doing kind of a media tour for the documentary about the Lakers' legacy on Hulu. And she just, about a week or so ago was asked, hey, what are you looking forward to this upcoming season? She's like, man, I cannot wait to watch LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Kendrick Nunn play basketball. It's like, well, there's another guy on your roster who's making more than anybody that you mentioned even. So, and then, just recently she did a sit down with Sam Amick of The Athletic. And in that basically said that Russell Westbrook was the Lakers' best player last year. And it stood out so much to Sam Amick that he had to reach back out to her to say, hey, did you mean what you said there? Are you sure about it?
I had to text her back because nobody believed it.
That's hilarious.
Are you sure that's the...
It's like when the waitress goes,
that?
You tip a waitress really good. Like, are you sure you want to leave this much?
Exactly. So she wound up clarifying and say that he was the most consistent Laker that they had. And I would argue he was their most consistently bad Laker that they had last year. And that's kind of where things stand right now. That Mark Stein said that apparently Patrick Beverley and Russell Westbrook have spoken and are working to make amends with each other. And, again, that's the kind of thing that has to be said, that has to be floated out there. But at the end of the day, I would be pretty surprised if Russell Westbrook was a Laker by the beginning of the season.
See, I couldn't disagree with that more for this reason. Are you just going to give him away, and to whom you are giving him away to, how does it then fit them? Because it's not that the Lakers want to get rid of him. Everyone can agree on that point. The problem is, you're not going to pay him to sit because the Lakers don't do that. They're not that kind of operation. And 2, trading him to someone else has to fit their narrative as well. And if you trade for him, he's going to want to play. And he's going to want to play well. So that takes out the teams with cap space that are tanking for Natamwamba or whatever his name is. That's Utah, San Antonio, Indiana. So these teams that are mentioned in trading for Russell Westbrook, having Russell Westbrook would throw off their plan to then tank for the number 1 pick.
Yeah, I mean, you can always approach Russ about a buyout, which is something that he fired his agent. His agent came to him and said, "Hey, Russ, would you consider what Darvin Ham is talking about? Darvin wants you to play a little more defense, cut more off of the ball, set a few more screens off of the ball, set a few screens on the ball for LeBron, and become a bigger part of the offense that way versus what you're traditionally used to, which is having the ball in your hands and being kind of the sole creator." He then fired his agent, and then the other part of the advice that he gave, that his agent was basically like begging Russ to take into account here, is if you get bought out, it becomes almost impossible for you. And you get bought out, you get signed to the prorated minimum. It becomes almost impossible for the league to see you as anything other than a minimum player from that point forward. And again, he fired his agent. So, like, it's very clear to me the path forward that Russ sees for himself. He wants the freedom. His whole tagline is "Why not?" Right?
Mm-hmm.
He wants the freedom to be able to choose his next destination. He wants to go to. I think he wants to go to Washington. Is if I had to choose a destination, he wants to go there, and he wants to play again with Bradley Beal. That was the last place that he looked like he belonged on an NBA floor. That's kind of where I would envision this winds up. But I like you're saying, it's difficult for the Lakers to come to grips with the fact that it is going to cost a first rounder to get rid of him. That's something that they have been fighting themselves and fighting the market over basically for months now, getting back to the deadline.
Yeah. So what I'd like to ask you is, does Washington really want him, even after something that can be restructured after this deal, right? Like if he's got the no trade clause, which he does, doesn't he? And he can be stubborn. No, he doesn't have the no trade clause.
Mm-hmm. No trade clause.
Okay.
He can
in the
be
last year of that. Okay. So the Lakers can trade him for a buyer. But the problem is all these teams that would want to just flush his contract out at the end of the year, why won't they wait and make the Lakers wait and make the Lakers pay a heavy load of that over the season? If he's firing his agents, won't he be stubborn enough to say, you got to play me or trade me? And then there's a lot of teams out there, even if they were like, hey, look, we can jump on this and flush him out at the end of the deal, and or like that nightmare scenario for him, which is the buyout, which I agree, it makes him a minimum paid player for the rest of his career. Are there people out there with the fan bases that are like, man, we can't wait to get Russell Westbrook? I mean, does Washington even want him back to the point where it's like, because I think there's only real home I would think he could go back to and try to do something, but do they want him, would be Oklahoma City and have some rejuvenation of a place that did cheer for him with everything.
But that's a team that's trying to lose.
I understand that. But if he flushes out this contract, then he can go and say, look, let's sign something where I play the end of my career here and give you the freedom to spend some money and maybe build something around me and after me. And
no, they're not doing that.
Well, I'm just saying, where does he go?
But that's my whole point. Nowhere.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's a outcome here. That's a possible outcome here, is if he gets bought out, thinking that I'm Russell Westbrook. Like last year, it was funny. Frank Vogel and all of the assistant coaches would tell him at various points during film study, hey, we need you to focus on this rotation. Can you at least be watching the ball on defense rather than like positioning yourself for another rebound? Could you just try that one time? Let's just see how it goes. And he would all but essentially hold up a literal resume to say, nope, I'm good. I'm a Hall of Famer. I don't need to do those things. Those things are beneath me. And I think, again, like, it's tough. I really feel for Hall of Fame players, especially those like Russ, who really proved a lot of people wrong along the way. He wasn't some incredible recruit going into college.
Correct.
He was a lottery pick, but he wasn't some, like, bona fide #1 overall pick. He proved a lot of people wrong over the course of his career. So he's probably looking at this as another opportunity to prove everybody wrong.
Sure.
But a lot of times what happens is, the market tells you who you are. It's with free agents, it's never, Jalen Rose has a tagline that he likes to go back to all the time, is with free agents who sign a deal, you're worth what a team is willing to pay you. And that is essentially saying, like, the market is dictating who you are. And I think, like, Kevin Durant kind of found out in a really ugly way this offseason. The market kind of informed him, yeah, a bunch of teams aren't willing, because of the way that you do your business. A bunch of teams aren't really willing to go out there and send their best offers, because with 4 years left on your deal, you're demanding out. You could just do that all over again with fewer years left on your deal. And I think here with Russ, he might be looking at this situation as like, who wouldn't want me? I'm Russell Westbrook.
Right.
And what he might find out, just like Allen Iverson found out at the end of his career, is nobody might want you.
See, but you guys ever take looks at likes from players in, like, Twitter? Like, look at everything Russell Westbrook likes. It's like tweets about him being amazing, about him being like the most points in the last 10 years from any point guard, the most assists. Like, Russell Westbrook believes in Russell Westbrook.
Sure.
And you know who's not talking about running it back next year? Russell Westbrook. He's the only dude not talking about running it back. Pat Bev is doing it. Damian Jones, for whatever reason, is doing it. LeBron's doing it. Everyone's pumping Russ up about being a Laker. Guess who's not doing that? Not anywhere. Nowhere in sight.
But
Russell Westbrook.
Here's the
That's
problem.
a great point.
Here's the problem with Russell Westbrook. He's still very good. He still plays. Listen. Hear me out.
He's very productive. I don't know if I would say good.
So to him, production equals good.
Sure.
That's his biggest problem with the Lakers.
So to him, he still sees himself as a high value asset, and so he does not think that LeBron, who gets hurt and doesn't play, offers more than him, because he plays more and he plays every possession, and so he sees himself on that roster and in that organization at a higher perch than LeBron. That's not reality. But like you said, he hasn't been operating on other people's reality for a while now. And so everywhere he's gone, they pretty much catered to him. Oklahoma City basically chose him over Kevin Durant, which, if you follow that, Kevin was like, I'm way better than this guy, but y'all love him, so I'm out. He got to Houston, had the same. Everywhere he goes, he has the same issue. When he can't play the way he wants to play, he basically rebels against the organization on the court, not privately, not like in the media. He just rebelled on the court.
He did it in the media too, though. Like in the exit interviews, he was asked, "Hey, what did you think?" LeBron and AD said multiple times over the course of the season, and said here in their exit interviews, that they got to find a way to let Russ be Russ. And Russ called them liars. Like he said, he essentially told them, like, they didn't make any efforts like that. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I don't know what they're talking about. And again, like, this is where Phil Jackson famously always said that the least favorite situation that he liked to coach in was with a superstar who was past their prime. And it's because that superstar, like, we all feel it. I'm 36 years old. Over the weekend, I went out to the lake with my daughter. My niece were all out there. My niece wanted to play tag. And like 36 years old, I'm like, I still feel like I'm in okay shape. I've lost some weight recently. So I'm thinking, like, I can go out there and play some tag. There's like a sand mound there that I could go out and play. I woke up the next morning. I was like, you idiot. You complete moron. And I think, like, Russ feels that same way, where his peaks are a hell of a lot higher than mine. And he still feels in his body, I'm still Russell Westbrook. I can still do some insane things on the court. We saw him last year posterize Rudy Gobert. That was incredible. And he still feels like he's able to do that any given night. But the problem is, like,
he's an athletic
Father
freak.
Time has come.
He's an athletic freak. There's no doubt. But like, he's that analogy where it's like, just because you're the busiest guy in the office doesn't mean you're getting anything done. You know what I mean? Like, Brown and I have talked on our show where it's like, this guy plays every possession like there's 8 seconds on the clock and you're down 4. And
When
you
he
know,
has the ball.
it's like 10 minutes in the first quarter, there's 20 on the shot clock, and he's running through plate glass windows. It's just
when he has the ball, like when he has the ball, he's doing that.
That's what I mean.
When
He's
when you watch it when he doesn't,
he's facilitating static a lot of times,
Yeah.
and his shot selection has been just awful over his whole career.
Yeah. When he has the ball,
he can get to the rim. He can go end to end. I mean, he can get over a guy one-on-one, but his shot selection and his erratic play on a consistent
last year, any shot he took was a bad shot. Just couldn't shoot.
Well, it got so bad last year that the Lakers. It got so bad last year that the Lakers actually went to him and asked him to see a hand specialist because he kept fumbling the ball because he couldn't make layups. Like again, the stories that are coming out of this, the Lakers.
Genie paid for a hand specialist?
Oh no, they did. It would have been expensed. I don't know how that would have gone, but they asked him at one point, like, hey, can you go? Like, would you be interested in going to see a hand specialist because you keep like he couldn't dribble quite right. Every time he would go into the rim, he would like drop the ball off of his knee. If he got up to the rim, he was missing it off either end of the rim. So it was just, last year, I want to be clear, everybody was the worst version of themselves. Anthony Davis
he hurt his hand playing tag. You never know, dude. It's an old tag.
Oh yeah. Look, I'm telling you,
he's got kids.
Yeah, but like, but everybody last year was the worst version of themselves. Russ, Frank. I thought the Lakers front office had an abysmal year. LeBron was his most passive aggressive when I thought they needed more hands-on leadership. Anthony Davis missed a bunch of time, came into camp, I thought a little overweight. He's calling it like bulked up to play center, but like I've never seen bulk do that to somebody as athletic as Anthony is. And so like on down, everybody was their worst version of themselves. And unfortunately here, the only guy that can be moved is Russ. The Lakers don't want to move Anthony Davis. They clearly aren't going to trade LeBron James. So their only option here is to trade Russ and try to, separate his $47 million into a few smaller contracts on players who might be overpaid, but they are still other players who help you win. And that's kind of the scenario that they're looking at. The return isn't going to look impressive on a Russell Westbrook trade. It is probably going to take a couple first rounders that people aren't going to be thrilled to get rid of.
To move them.
But like that is still the reality that is facing the Lakers right now. And yeah, sure, they could technically like hold off on this, play out this season, use their cap space next year and try to retool that way. But it's just enough. Like you're basically gambling that LeBron is a cyborg, and at some point he's not going to.
Yeah.
Well, I think the four of us will agree. With Russ, without Russ, whatever your return is for Russ, the season is a wash if Anthony Davis gets hurt again.
Yes. Period.
Or just plays uninspired basketball. Like
I think he needs to be the cheat code nickname that everybody's given him. Yeah. Like he needs to be that guy for the Lakers to be a good team.
Yeah. He right now he looks like a guy that's happy with one ring.
That's a concern that frankly the Lakers have of him too. Like some people that I kind of talk to around the Lakers and around the organization, there's a lot of, he seemed really happy after that one championship.
That's it, man.
There was, and look, like, by the way, it would put him with the vast majority of players. It's really, the guys who have won multiple championships as the best or second best player on their team, those guys are the best of the best of the best in the history of the game. Yeah. And I think Anthony Davis has that talent. One of the things that really kind of, I get knocked sometimes because I'm a little too hard on AD, but he has that otherworldly talent. I just don't know if he has that.
He doesn't have what Tim Duncan have. He doesn't have that assertiveness that just, you carry yourself through an injury or a sore this or and obviously sometimes there's severe injuries that shelf you. There's no doubt he's been through some, but there was the story last spring. He hadn't touched a basketball in 3 months. That's what he does. He takes that time up. Come on, man. What?
Well, he doesn't want to get hurt.
It's the meme, right? The meme that goes around all the time where they have the x-ray and there's an actual dog like in the person's chest, right? Yeah. I'm not positive AD has that dog in him. And it's funny. Russ has gotten all of the headlines this offseason, but absolutely right, Alex, that this Lakers season is going to be defined by how AD responds to. I saw some lists out there right now that have him like top 15 to 20 in the league. When the Lakers won a championship, they were talking about, is he the best player in the NBA?
Correct.
So in a matter of 2 seasons, that's a pretty precipitous drop in terms of your stature around the NBA. And you know, we've seen it time after time after time. Giannis loves going at Anthony Davis. Jokic loves going at Anthony Davis. For some reason, like one of the trends that I really paid a little extra attention to last year was how did the stars perceive AD based on the way that they play against him when they match up? And nobody looked even a little bit nervous going up against AD last year. And that's going to have to change.
Yeah. All right. So we got about 60 seconds here, guys. And I just want to wrap up by asking you a prediction. Is Russell Westbrook a Laker by the time training camp starts at the end of this month?
No. I would probably put it about 85% chance that he gets moved in the next week or so.
Wow. All right. Well, maybe you know more than I, but I'm going to say yes, unless there's some type of buyout situation that is just, you know, but I just right now I don't know anybody that wants Russell Westbrook enough that a trade can get done in the you know, typical sense, but.
We'll see. We got a little bit of time before training camp starts. Anthony Irwin at Anthony Irwin LA on Twitter.
Shout out.
You can catch him on silverscreenandroll.com. Does a fantastic job with the Lakers podcast. I say that because I'm on it, but it's true. There's so many good shows on that network. I implore everybody, if you're a Laker fan, to go listen to Anthony's show, to everybody's show on that network. Anthony, thank you so much for the time. We'll talk to you soon.
Anytime, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right, everybody. We'll be right back. This is Kaplan and Crew.
Great stuff, Anthony. Nice meeting you.
Hunger is a year-round problem. The San Diego Food Bank and our North County Food Bank chapter provide food assistance at locations throughout the county. We need your help. Host a food drive, volunteer, or donate online. Thank you for making a difference.
You're watching Kaplan and Crew tonight, powered by the mightier 1090 AM, ESPN Radio, and Your View, featuring the best sports talk in SoCal.
Rome comes home. Yes, I said it. You can now catch the Jim Rome Show Monday through Friday, noon until 3 p.m. on the mightier 1090 ESPN Radio. Back to San Diego, where it all started, on the mightier 1090 ESPN Radio, SoCal Sports Talk.
Please welcome 4 of the 5 San Diego County Teachers of the Year from the 2021-2022 school year. From Central Elementary School, Laura Reyes. From Westville High School, Tiffany Jokers. From San Jose Elementary School, Jacqueline Jorge. And from St. Joe Southwest Middle School, Todd Sanders. Teachers, please deliver the pitch. San Diego County Teachers of the Year with their honorary pitch.
The 2022 San Diego Loyal season continues. Live on Your View and YourView.com. Watch your San Diego Loyal take on Monterey Bay FC Saturday, September 3rd at 7 p.m. Support the San Diego Loyal as they continue their bid for the 2022 USL Championship. Monterey Bay FC versus the San Diego Loyal, Saturday at 7 on Your View.
Teachers
I'm tax attorney Adam Brewer. If you have a serious tax problem with the IRS or state of California, then you don't need a tax relief company, you need a tax attorney. Call or visit my website to schedule your free tax evaluation.
Listen to the Mike Greenberg Show, 7 to 9 a.m. Pacific, Monday through Friday. Greeny brings his unmatched depth of sports knowledge, fun, and entertainment back to ESPN on a daily basis. The Mightier 1090 ESPN Radio, SoCal Sports Talk, and the Mightier1090.com.
Here's Kaplan and Crew tonight's 60-second timeout with Haley Stasiak.
The San Diego Wave got the win against the Portland Thorns last weekend, 2-0. The Wave came out of the gate hot, scoring 2 goals in the first half by Kristen McNabb and Alex Morgan. San Diego was able to stave off the Thorns in the second half for the shutout. The Wave have retaken first place in the NWSL standings with the win. They sit atop the league with 31 points, while the Houston Dash and Kansas City sit close at second and third with 29 points. Next, they'll match up with the Washington Spirit on September 10th before returning home to Snapdragon Stadium for their opener at the new stadium on September 17th. The club announced last week that they have sold more tickets to this opening game than the NWSL attendance record for a single game, with over 27,000 tickets sold. That's your 60-second timeout. Now back to more Kaplan and Crew tonight.
Kaplan and Crew tonight's 60-second timeout is presented by Your View. You're watching Kaplan and Crew tonight, powered by the Mightier 1090 AM, ESPN Radio, and Your View, featuring the best sports talk in SoCal.
What's going on to all the great friends that watch the show on television here on Cox Your View? What you're about to see will never be heard on radio, won't be seen on YouTube, no audio podcast. This is just for you here on Cox Your View. Hey to all the great friends out there that watch on Cox Your View. You might be in San Diego, Orange County, LA, Santa Barbara. We're happy to have everybody here. What we love to do in this time is it's a Cox exclusive. This is stuff you're only going to see here on Cox. Not going to hear this on radio on 1090. Not going to see it on our YouTube channel. Not going to hear it on any of the audio podcast platforms. This is just for you guys that watch on Cox Your View. A really big show coming to the Scottish Rites Event Center in Mission Valley in San Diego. If you love trading sports memorabilia or buying or selling, this is going to be the place for you. It's coming up on August 6th and 7th. And here's the guy running the entire operation. Here's Joe Oliveri, known to his friends as Joe O from SD Collectibles, who's running this show. Hey, Joe, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, Scott. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. Let's talk about this. Tell us about why people need to know about your show, SD Collectibles, on August 6th and 7th.
Well, we have a great show coming up August 6th and 7th at the Scottish Rite Event Center, like you had mentioned, right there in Mission Valley. We have over 130 tables that'll be at this show. We also have Paul Lowe signing autographs on Saturday. We have Steve Garvey and Raleigh Fingers, which will be there on Sunday doing in-person autographs. We just have a really great collection of some of the biggest and best of the community, the card collecting community, coming out there August 6th and 7th, showing their cards, showing their collectibles. There'll be a lot of memorabilia out there. And really what we look at it as is something for every collector.
Yeah, when you say every collector, is it, from what I understand and looking at the website, sdcollectibles.com, it's not just purely sports cards. Is that right?
That's correct, Scott. We have sports cards, memorabilia, autographed items, quite a few unique autographed items and memorabilia. But we also have Pokemon, a large selection of Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic the Gathering. There'll be vendors there that have comic books. As I mentioned, there's several autograph signers that will be there. We also have JSA, which will be on site for both Saturday and Sunday, doing in-person authentication, same-day services.
Well, that's awesome, because for me, the one thing I know I'm most interested in, and I know a lot of people who are watching right now have the same thing. If you've got a piece of sports memorabilia that you are willing to part with, but you don't have authentication, like I have this Marshall Faulk football, the year that he broke the record where he was over 1,000 yards rushing and receiving for the Rams in 2000. I've also got this basketball sitting right here that is signed by every Los Angeles Laker of the 2002 World Championship team. So Shaq, Kobe, Phil Jackson. I don't really honestly know if they're authentic. I think they are. It's just I don't have the paperwork. So I can bring this stuff to your show and get it authenticated on site. Is that right?
That's correct. You can bring your autographed items, whether it's memorabilia such as those basketballs, footballs, baseballs, bats, cards, photos. You can bring them right to the show Saturday or Sunday. Stop by the JSA booth. Chris would be happy to help you there. He'll be on site with his team, and they can authenticate different items that you have that have autographs, so that you can find out, one, if it's real, and two, it just gives it that much more value when it is authenticated.
What if I get it authenticated and I want to sell it? Is there a way for a private person like myself? I say private, I mean, like, I'm not in the business. Can I sell this stuff?
Yeah, you sure can. There's a couple different ways to do that. I mean, obviously, there's some online ways to do that take a lot of time and a whole different set of really procedures. But one of the great things that you can do, we have tables available and we have options for everyone. We do have some vendor tables available, 6, 8, and 12-foot tables. You can bring your items down there to sell. You can bring your cards, your memorabilia, and so on. If you have some memorabilia items like you're showing there, Scott, you can get them authenticated right at JSA, bring them over to your table, and you can put them out there for all of the attendees to see, and see if you can make a deal on selling it or possibly trading it for something that you have a little more interest in.
All right. Well, while you're talking, I know Alex is putting up on the screen for everybody the website. It's sdcollectibles.com, sdcollectibles.com. Information about where, when, who's going to be there signing autographs, how you can get authenticated, how you can buy a table and space if you want to sell your own collection. Joe, this is going to be a fun show. This is going to be really cool. Give us any final thoughts, things you need people to know before you roll.
Well, one of the great things is it's a family-friendly event. When you come to our shows, you'll see a lot of people, both the parents and the kids, showing them around because there's something for everyone. There's bargain boxes of cards that are anywhere from 50 cents to $1 up. And then if you're one of those bigger collectors that likes to find those unique cards, maybe those graded cards, those Gem Mint 10, there's going to be thousands and thousands of those on display, as well as what's called the trading card game, the TCG, with Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, and so on, comic books, as I mentioned, autographed memorabilia and such. If I could give a special thank you to some of those in our community that have helped support our event. Stacked Packs, big supporter and sponsor of our event. Poke Familia, J-Lo Collectibles, SD Sportsmem, and OC Dugout. Those folks really helped support our event, and they'll be at the show. So if you have an opportunity to come out and attend, come by and say hello to those folks that have vendor tables set up.
Joe, it sounds like it's going to be a great event on August 6th and 7th. The website is SD Collectibles, and we'll see you down there. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
The NFL lives here. If it's about the NFL, you found the right station. Join 1090 every Sunday during the NFL season for the exclusive SoCal home of not one, but 2 NFL games every Sunday during the season on the Mightier 1090 ESPN Radio.
Hunger is a year-round problem. The San Diego Food Bank and our North County Food Bank chapter provide food assistance at locations throughout the county. We need your help. Host a food drive, volunteer, or donate online. Thank you for making a difference.
Home of Guiding Hands helps San Diego community in that we're a resource for families. A lot of times when families first identify that their child, their loved one, might have an intellectual or developmental disabilities, they don't know where to go. They don't know what to do. And we're here to help guide people through that process, to show them what a thriving life their loved one can have. It's a passion I share, having a daughter with a disability.
I really love the place that I live at. Because of Home of Guiding Hands, I was able to move out of my parents' house and into a beautiful home that I love living in. And so like if you have an independent living service coordinator, they will help you like learn more about being independent, and they help guide you through different things. They've helped me with lots of encouragement and love. They've also given me an ILS worker who is an amazing person, and I love her so much. She's great. I could tell you the first, I think, week or so, I wasn't feeling very confident in myself. The first couple of nights I was like, oh, this is scary. But I look back on it now and I'm like, this is so easy.
Main Street Living celebrates diverse abilities in partnership with Home of Guiding Hands, supporting the special needs community for over 55 years.
Thank you for joining us. Catch Scott Kaplan and Crew tonight from 7 to 8 p.m. Pacific every Monday through Friday. The very best from today's Scott Kaplan and Crew show on the mightier 1090 AM ESPN Radio, SoCal Sports Talk.
Hey, so welcome to